Bandicoot is a classic platformer game that was released for the PlayStation 1 in 1996. The game follows the story of Crash, a genetically enhanced Bandicoot who sets out to save his girlfriend and stop the evil Drive Neo Cortex from taking over the world. While the game was well received at the time of its release, it is often considered one of the most overrated games on the PS1. This is because, compared to other platformers on the console, the gameplay mechanics can be frustrating and the levels can feel repetitive and uninteresting. The game's difficulty can also be a turn-off for some players, as it requires a lot of precision and memorization to progress. However, despite its flaws, Crash Bandicoot has remained a beloved classic for many gamers. Its colorful characters, catchy soundtrack, and charming story have kept it in the hearts of fans for over 2 decades. While it may not be the most perfect game, it certainly deserves its place in gaming history as a pioneer of the 3D platformer genre. In Tomb Raider, you play as Lara Croft, a treasure hunter who travels the world to find ancient artifacts. The game is a third-person action-adventure game where you control Lara as she jumps, climbs, and fights her way through dangerous environments. Tomb Raider is considered one of the top 6 overrated video games on PS1 because despite its popularity and critical acclaim, the game has several flaws that limit its overall quality, are often frustrating and difficult to master, and the camera angles can be confusing and disorienting. The game's puzzles, while challenging, can also be tedious and repetitive, and the story is often convoluted and difficult to follow. Despite these flaws, Tomb Raider remains a beloved classic of the PS1 era, and its influence can still be seen in modern games today. Its pioneering approach to third-person exploration and platforming has helped shape the genre. Resident Evil is a survival horror game on the PlayStation 1, where still one of the most recognizable characters in gaming today, Chris or Jill, who are members of the Special Tactics and Rescue Service, ST. A.
Where the hell are we?
R. S. Closing parenthesis.
We gotta get the hell out of here.
They are sent to investigate a series of murders in Raccoon City and end up trapped in a mansion filled with zombies and other dangerous creatures. The game involves solving puzzles, managing limited resources, and fighting off enemies with firearms and other weapons. Despite its popularity and critical acclaim, Resident Evil is considered one of the top 6 overrated video games on PS1. This is because the game has aged poorly and has many flaws that were overlooked at the time of its release. The game's controls are clunky and difficult to use. The voice acting and writing are often laughably bad, and the gameplay can be frustratingly slow and repetitive. Additionally, the game's emphasis on jump scares and gore can be off-putting to some players. While Resident Evil was groundbreaking in its time and paved the way for the survival horror genre, it may not be as enjoyable to play today as it once was. Final Fantasy VII is a popular RPG game on the PlayStation 1. The game follows the story of Cloud Strike, an ex-soldier who joins a group called Avalanche to fight against the evil corporation. Along the way, Shinra, Cloud uncovers a dark planet's resources involving an ancient evil known as Sephiroth. While Final Fantasy VII is considered a classic by many, it is also one of the top 6 overrated video games on PS1.
They say she's a monster.
This is because the game's graphics have not aged well, leading to many frustrating moments where it is difficult to distinguish between characters and objects. Additionally, the game's pacing can be slow,
So,
with long
who is
cutscenes
she?
and repetitive battles. Finally, the game's convoluted and confusing plot can be difficult to
Feast
follow,
your eyes on the
and
Turk's
many of the
latest and
characters
greatest,
lack depth and
Elena.
development.
She may be.
Overall,
That she can
Final
peer
Fantasy
inside
VII
you,
is a classic game that
into the
helps
very
define the
depths of your
RPG
soul.
genre, but it is also
you can
overrated
become
due to its
those you
outdated
hate,
graphics, slow
those you
pacing,
fear.
and confusing plot. Metal Gear Solid is a video game about a soldier named Solid Snake who is on a mission to stop a terrorist group called Foxhound from launching a nuclear strike. The game is known for its stealth gameplay, where the player must avoid detection and eliminate enemies quietly. It also has a complex story with themes of betrayal, genetic engineering, and the consequences of war.
Colonel.
However,
I'm
while Metal
surprised.
Gear Solid is a
You're very
beloved
frank for a
classic,
trained
it is
killer.
also overrated.
Looks like we both have a lot to learn.
This is because the gameplay can be frustrating and repetitive at times, with long periods of waiting and sneaking around. The story can also be convoluted and confusing, with many plot twists that feel forced and unnecessary. Additionally, the graphics and controls have not aged well, making it difficult for modern players to enjoy. Overall, while Metal Gear Solid is an important part of video game history, it may not be as enjoyable to play as it once was and may not live up to the hype it has received over the years. Tekken 3 is a fighting game developed for the PlayStation 1 console. It features a variety of characters with unique fighting styles and backgrounds, each with their own storyline and motivations. The game includes a variety of modes, including arcade, story, and versus modes, as well as a range of unlockable content, such as new popularity and critical acclaim. Tekken 3 is considered by some to be one of the top 6 overrated video games on the PlayStation 1. This is because while it was an impressive and groundbreaking game for its time, it may not have aged as well as some other classics from the same era. Additionally, some players may find the game's reliance on memorizing complex button combinations and moves to be frustrating and difficult to master, which can make the experience less enjoyable. Tekken 3 remains a beloved classic and an important part of gaming history. Its overrated status may be a matter of personal preference and taste.